I'm just like a hyper sensitive, hyper inspired person. And from what I've learned with my little experience, that just seems to be a common thread with a lot of artists, is that they're actually just really sensitive people, for better or for worse. And so I think I just tend to take a lot of things personally, and that helps me write music and to feel things deeper, and then eventually, to write songs that help people experience their emotions and understand them. But I don't know. I think I just really, I'm really sensitive and easily inspired by things, which, helps me write songs. So I don't know if it's like I'm more tuned into reality or something. I'm probably less tuned in as an artist, but there's just a lot of ways to look at it. Music, anything I create is just really personal to me. And so it's just weird. I've always been really weird about letting other people do anything, which is a bad thing in some ways. I need to kind of let go and let other people do what they're good at, and like it'll eventually make better art. But I've just been really picky all of my life about what I let go, because I want what I make to be personal and something that I'm just really, really proud of. And so it's been really strange, like handing over like anything. Like I have 2 managers who are absolutely awesome. And they're like incredible and really like veterans in the music industry. But like there's still things where I'm like, I want to answer the email, like I want to do, and I need to let go some ways where it's like, why am I holding on to that? But yeah, I just grew up having this idea that artists in any capacity were just like involved in everything. And, the more I've existed in the music industry, the more I've realized that that's really not the case, that it's pretty rare for someone to be involved with everything, because it's very stressful. So nobody really wants to do that, but for some reason I still do. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely by nature like a workaholic and perfectionist. So I just love like to make sure that things are just like the best they can be. And so I feel like in my head, I convince myself if I'm fully involved, then if it's terrible, it's totally my fault. But if it's awesome, then I can take all the credit, so that's just like my deepest nature saying that. That sounds kind of narcissistic. And I've let go of it, but, just being totally honest, that's probably what my brain is going through. But yeah, I think it just comes down to me being a perfectionist. Something that I love about being in creative control in regards to music is that every record, technically, if you look at it from a sonic viewpoint, someone who's like an engineer, every album that I make next is technically going to be better because I'm figuring out how to do stuff, So like when I first recorded Fuzzy Brain, I had no gear really whatsoever and didn't really know how to mix anything. And now that I have a little bit of a better idea, my next album, sounds better because I have some gear. And then by the time the next one comes around, I'll learn so much more than I know now. So it's like people who have been with me from the start can kind of look back in this catalog and see each album, me growing up, both as a person, but also as, a creative writer and engineer, which I think is going to be really cool. I view making music just as a big, like as a whole. Like I see production and writing going hand in hand. I've always had a hard time like thinking of them as different things, but I'm only 21 now, so like my musical tastes are still forming. And these past couple of years, since Fuzzy Brain, I've been listening to like a ton of just like 70s and 80s pop and realizing like that's what I love. Like listening to like James Taylor and any artist in that whole world. I've just been really listening and like loving the songwriting style, and learning how to write more personally and approaching songs really pretty differently than I had with Fuzzy Brain. So yeah, I definitely think I'm maturing a lot as a writer as well, and just understanding myself and how, I like to write songs. Until a song is released, I can listen to it over and over and over because I'm just really focused on like, is there anything I need to change before other people hear it? And so I was listening to Close to You multiple times every day, just like focusing. And there's actually one thing on the final master that I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot to do it. There's like a clap every on every like 3 or something. I'm blanking on the musical term, but there's like this echo that's supposed to be on it, and I exported it without listening to the one that I went to get mastered by someone else. And I realized after listening back to that master that like I forgot to add the clap echo. And I realized this like weeks later, and I was like, oh my gosh. But that's just, a little fun way that I guess I'm letting go of my pride, because that doesn't matter. Like nobody cares. But yeah, it's just like, it's crazy how many details, I care about that, nobody else will. Just recognizing the emotional capacity and power that music has, which I honestly fully didn't realize until Fuzzy Brain was released and started getting attention, that, I would get these messages from people who are like, this music really means a lot to me. And I'm like, really? Like that's crazy just to know that music has this power really to help people emotionally on a really, really deep level. And so I think there is a certain responsibility for any creative or artist that's making and helping people process things emotionally, just thinking about, the direction you're helping them. And so if I can positively help people with their emotions and how they treat other people through making pop music, then that's a pretty crazy phenomenon. I tend to write music like half personal experience, half like thinking about the listener and what they possibly have experienced as well. Because like I was talking about, I'm like super hypersensitive, so there can be a really small moment that I'm just able to write a lot about. And so I was thinking about just that feeling on Close to You, that feeling of like not saying hello to someone that you wished you would have, and you were kind of like pumping yourself up like all day about like some party or something at night, and like you didn't do what you were planning on doing, or like, I don't know. And so I was thinking like that's something probably everyone's experienced in some capacity at some point. And so just knowing that it's relatable helps me write about it. Because then you can look in a lot of different angles and think about hypotheticals. And yeah, I love being busy, and I love like having big things happen all at once. So I don't know. I think it burns me out sometimes, but I love just like being busy. Like I've always just felt older than I am, and that's been true since I was like 11. Like everybody around me has always said I'm like, an old soul or whatever, and I'm not, like claiming that I'm like, the wisest person alive or something, but there's definitely been just a lot of moments in my life where I just keep myself busy, and I'm taking all these steps. Like I'm constantly thinking about growing up, and what it's like to be growing up. And so for Fuzzy Brain, I was really isolated, and I was just like figuring out how to deal with all these emotions, and like thinking about how great it's going to be once I'm out of this small town and I can be like in this other place and kind of move on from these little like, high school. It's just like high school. Nobody really likes that time of their life. You just change a lot. And, once Fuzzy Brain was out and it started getting attention, now it's kind of like, whoa, like I have all this attention and I kind of just like want to go back into my own little bubble. And so it's kind of just this like back and forth of, I don't know, always craving the next thing, which fuels, art. I always have to have something to write about and that I'm feeling. So it's good that I guess the hole isn't completely filled. And maybe one day it will be, and then I'll just like, I don't know, become a farmer or something. But yeah, I think I'm always just like looking at the next step and the next thing I'm going to talk about.